No warning. And we back. We live and direct. Another episode. What is it? Episode 4
It's
now?
like episode 4. Like we really like we back like for real,
We
for
stay.
real.
We
Look
stay.
at
You was running late last week. I was heartbroken.
Mardi Gras. That's it. That's all I have to say. Mardi Gras.
You killed my dreams too. You came in with the beads.
I did.
I thought I was like, oh, you done did what you needed to do, and then you
did not. And then I just know the people that I needed to know. That's all.
It's heartbreaking. You should let my mind run wild.
See, I have enough other shit for your mind to run wild on. You don't need Mardi Gras. You know the thing.
Yeah. Yo, yes, we're back with another topic. We had some wonderful guests in today joining us. I cannot wait to have them on. They have their own thing going on. They just finished doing an interview with Jill Scott. What up, Ab?
Not let's take a long walk after dark in the park. Jill Scott. She had a special place in my heart. I love Jill Scott. Right? I wish Jill Scott was at least bisexual because I would have the things.
What would you do, Natasha?
It'll be more than a long walk. It'll be a long walk with my tongue. That's all I'm gonna say.
But yes, they've been doing their thing. I know that was one of them. I actually caught one of their other interviews that they did. And they had went live, and I love their story, like the little pieces I did catch because I've been doing other things at once. So it's been great to actually kind of grow with them, get to know them, see their journey, and I love the way how they're dropping their little things. And there's one question I'm gonna ask them too because they hit on it, and I love the answer they said it, but that's gonna be down the line.
But okay.
But yes. Without someone wrote. Jill might be.
Hey, look, I'm trying to find out. Because, I'm not opposed to shooting my shot. I shot my shot today. And, I saw a little something that I like. I was out to brunch with my girls, and I was like, ooh. I want my move. And, that's all she wrote.
You ain't. But without further ado, I want to invite this beautiful guest, this beautiful couple, because you know how we do here. Yes. You know what I mean? Bringing the community together. We love to learn together. We love to build and grow together. So without further ado,
fun too in the mix.
In the mix. Without further ado, the Poly Couple Next Door. I love the name.
What's up?
Hey, you guys.
Hello. You guys? Like, look at this beautiful couple. Like, how are we so blessed? Thank you so much for gracing with your
pleasure.
Facts. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Everybody, what you call it? If you want to kind of give people an introduction of who's who, what you guys go by, and also where you guys can be found.
Absolutely. As you said, we are the Poly Couple Next Door. I am Raheem Ali.
And I'm Mikki Bay.
And we can be found at the Poly Couple Next Door on Instagram, a website, and all that. Yeah.
I get the next door vibes. Like I can see it because it's like, she might bake cookies. He work every day, little 9 to 5, like suit and tie. But then again,
we regular folk. We regular folk.
No. Well, that's actually why we chose the name because we really wanted to kind of destigmatize it and make it like, hey, you do know people who are living like this. You just didn't know we was next door. But hey, y'all, we next door.
What's that?
I love when you guys had said that. That was gonna be my next question. To ask y'all, how did y'all come up with the name? And I love that, right? Because it is true. You guys just don't know. It is your neighbors. It is, it's your doctors, it's your lawyers, it's your police. Like it's Poly is a lifestyle. It's a choice of how we choose to live. And that's why I love how you guys created the name and came up with the concept. I was like,
it's your pastor.
Right. Well, I think the thing that comes to mind for me is that I feel like Black people, we are aware of this dynamic, right? We just didn't know what to call it. And that's one of the reasons we chose this name is because it's not a far-fetched concept for us. It's the ethical part that is new to people, right? But it's not that we don't understand how to have multiple family units and all come together and group economics and that kind of stuff. So That was the reason I chose the name.
So I got to begin with this understanding, right? Now, I was on y'all's live, like I said. I hear there's 2 different stories of how all this came about.
I'm waiting for the tea.
I've kind of mashed the stories at this point, but I let her tell it. But there is a part of the story that she always omits that I like to interject.
I know
poly journey. Of course, you don't remember.
I feel like this is the exciting part.
It's really not that exciting. I mean, my version of it is that we did start researching it. We started probably about year 3 of our marriage. We've been married for 7 years. And year 3, I think we just really started asking questions like, why are we monogamous? Is this something we chose or is this something we defaulted to? And as we started to uncover why we are in this monogamous structure, I just decided one night we were laying in the bed and I just said, babe, I think I want to try an open marriage. This is my version. And in my mind, he was like, oh, okay, babe. Yeah, let's do it. And he says,
we was in a fight. We did talk about non-monogamy. We talked about it. We kept coming up with questions about what we believed in monogamy and so forth and so on. And we got to a point where it said it might be a viable option. And then one day we were in a fight. She was mad at me for something. And she was just like, you know what? Fuck it, we poly.
Oh,
that's how we became poly.
Wait.
You.
Oh. Woo.
She was mad. She was mad.
That's all
I can still see it. I can still see her sitting at the counter.
You feel it right here. It's like, oh, that burn. Just like,
now who y'all gonna believe?
I remember it. It was an argument. I remember.
Play it up, girl. Play it up. Play me.
Listen, I remember my mom yelled at me when I was 8 years old. I still remember that when she beat me in front of my whole classroom. I remember when she said, "Fuck it, we poly." That's all I'm saying.
Listen, well, I'm not gonna say he lying, but it sounds like revisionist history to me. I don't remember that, but we'll just say it was somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
I would agree with that. But she said, "Fuck it, poly." I know those words.
Have an open marriage. I get it. Fuck it. Let's have an open marriage.
One thing I think we can agree on though is that he was relieved when I said it. It wasn't like, oh, you want to be woo-woo. It was not like that. He was like, really? Because at the time I was very traditional, and this was not something that he would have thought I would bring to the table to him, because I really thought if there was anything extramarital going into the marriage, I was like, I'm out. Like, it's not even a question. So for me to bring up being in an open marriage, he was just first like, who are you? And then secondly, like, very relieved that this was something that I was thinking about.
What was that? What was the relief part? Like, what was that here?
Because I think, because monogamy just never, I mean, I did the things because that's what you do, right? You get into a relationship, you're monogamous. I mean, this is what we're taught, right? We're taught, and we taught that the natural escalator of relationships is you meet somebody, you court them, you get engaged, you get married in the traditional Christian tradition. And that's what you do. I mean, no really rhyme or reason, but that's what you do. So that's what I did. But I know that when we start really investigating poly and ethical non-monogamy, it always set right with me. It always felt good to even think about relating in that way. Like, it was not like a blow to me at all.
So I was shocked that. Well, I think the thing for me is I was shocked that he was relieved, because I was like, well, why didn't you say anything? And again, in the structure of monogamy, like, what was he supposed to say? That it's hard for me to be monogamous? Because at that time, he would have believed that would have been something that could have ended our relationship. So I was actually really happy that I said something, because this was something that he was struggling with and never said anything to me. It wasn't an issue for me to be monogamous at all. So it wasn't that I was trying to open the relationship because it was difficult to be monogamous. It was first and foremost for ideology, just because I just started to align with the ideology of polyamory more so than monogamy. And then the other part of it was I wanted to explore. I wanted to have some exploration, and I wanted to be honest about it. I was just like, I don't feel try to, you know, lie and do something on the slide. Like, this is my best friend. Like, I should be able to say whatever to him.
So what's your history? Like, as far as like you guys as single people, what did that look like before you met? Because you said like exploring, like, did you have like a lack of exploration when you were single? Like, what did that look like?
Well, I had very long bouts of celibacy throughout my 20s. Like, I was building a business. I had a very successful business in my 20s. I was living in LA for 10 years. We met in LA, but at the tail end. And I dated a lot. I mean, LA is kind of like New York. Like, you always got a date, but nobody wants to commit, right? So it was never hard to get a date. It was difficult to find people who really wanted commitment and wanted marriage. And at that time, I really wanted marriage. I wanted a monogamous marriage. I wanted the traditional kids and the picket fence and all of that. And I just was so focused on my career, I didn't really take time to do much else. And LA is a difficult city to make it in, right? So it was a lot of my focus went there, and I wasn't really focused on dating.
And I dated. I was
he was like, I was in the streets.
I did all the things.
I was in the streets.
I mean, I dated. I was in LA for 4 years before I met her, and I'm from Philly originally. And Philly, I won't say I was unethical, but I was single in Philly, right? I was a single dude for most of my time.
We know what that means.
What that mean?
Single dude. I didn't break too many hearts.
Too many. Keyword.
But I was
too
a
many. That
single
don't mean
dude,
none.
you know. When I decided to, get into a relationship, I stayed in that relationship. I was, generally faithful.
Generally, I love the phrases. Pretty much.
I paint that with a broad stroke. I was generally faithful and all that. But being somebody that was raised by women, that was always around women, like that, like I have more women friends than male friends. Like, it's just, I've always had many women to connect with. And in traditional monogamy, we say this all the time, is that has to like go by the wayside. And a lot of times that's unsaid. It's just part of what committed monogamy, monogamous relationships look like, right? So even without the romantic part of polyamory, the fact that I'm able to, or we're able to just connect with people of the opposite sex, like we would
if we were single.
It's a friend, right? So just that freedom in that is what was really the main attraction to living this lifestyle for me. You don't have to get rid of people. You know what I mean?
That's very extremely common in monogamous relationships. It's like, oh well, you can't of the opposite sex because at some point they're gonna try to get down, and it's just understood. So it's a no. Like, why should I have to give up?
It's so silly. Like, you can't be friends with a woman. Like, what?
How? If you don't have no self-control, just say that.
Just say that. Just say that.
I think too, like, my best friend of 28 years is a guy, and he was in town last week. And if we were in a monogamous marriage, that could have potentially posed an issue, right? And it's so wonderful to just be able to say to him, "Oh, my best friend's in town. I'm going down to the Hyatt where he's staying." Whatever. It's not even a question. Like, it's like, yeah, go be with your friend. And actually, I had not seen him in person in 10 years. We talk every week. We talk all the time, but we have not seen each other in 10 years. And after the fact, the reunion, the way that we felt after being able to connect with one another as platonic friends, he's literally like a brother to me. Both said it is monogamous relationships, platonic relationships do not get the credit they deserve, because they are so important and they feel so good. And I'm so blessed to have someone who's known me since I was 11 years old and has been through every stage of life with me, because there's just no substitute for that. And unfortunately, a lot of those guy friends that I had didn't survive marriage for me. He did, but most of my guy friends did not.
Because they weren't allowed.
Well, that's what you think. That's what you think. That's the traditional thought that you can.
Yeah.
And then for the other guys, right? And but then the other person is thinking that too, like, oh, my female friend got married. Let me. Let me put it back because I don't want there to be some issue. But the only issue is the tradition and what we've told ourselves is a problem, and it shouldn't be.
Right.
And
exactly, it should be okay. And those relationships are so pivotal to your growth. Like, what's better than having somebody of the opposite sex that knows you like that to like ping things off of? Like, am I tripping? This such and such and such happened, and they'd be like, "Dog, you was wilding with that one." Like, but you need that.
They're like, and he has 2 girlfriends as well. Same thing. He's known them forever. And I think, what's so beautiful about those relationships is that it truly is unconditional, and it's no judgment. Like, how people are like, "Oh, don't tell people what's going on in your marriage." Those are the people that love you so much. They truly want the best for you. And he's been married for 11 years, got 3 kids. Like, and trust me, we had 28 years if there was going to be anything between us, right? So this is truly someone who is going to be a part of my life forever. And it's so rare to have someone travel that much of your life with you. And it's just a shame that unfortunately a lot of friendships get tossed in the garbage can because of some structure that you don't even realize you had an option to not opt into.
That part. And to make your own rules. Even even underneath that umbrella. You could have set your relationship however you wanted to, but we're so set on that this way. No friends of the opposite sex. No this, no looking at this one, no that. And all of these rules that people have put on us, it's like we just going with it.
I got a quick story, and we've actually never talked about this on a live, but when we were monogamous, he has this school event that he goes to every summer. And I forget how it came up, but he told me that he had hit some woman's butt in the club. And I was, when I say pissed, and literally talking about he literally was like, I was like, so what happened? How'd it go? He was like, nothing. It was cool. And he just started telling me, like, the only thing that happened was, some chick and I like rubbed her ass a little bit. And I was like, what? And it was just, and it's just so funny because that, when I say, if he came home today and told me like he rubbed the ass in the bar, I'd be like, was it soft?
Was it a nice ass?
Was it nice?
Was it like round ass or was it kind of lumpy ass? Like, was it loose? Did it jiggle when you touched it a little bit? Right. Did she like poke it back and be like, "Oh"?
It'd be a whole different conversation today.
One thing I know about you guys, right? And I was watching y'all's live. I watch everything, to make sure I study everybody to kind of, know what to ask and kind of pull the information out of. You spoke about being asexual.
Yeah.
And you said that it helped Polly kind of help you in that space because you got the opportunity to learn yourself. How did that look? I know you talked about it. That was some great information.
Yeah. And what does that mean for you?
Excellent question. So for me, it is still unfolding. I mean, this has been new information in like the last 90 days that I've been able to even like call it this. And if it were not for polyamory, I would not at all know this about myself. I will say, when we had that conversation in the bed about opening, what I did not share with him is that I was really pained by not being able to fulfill what his sexual desires were at that time. And I didn't understand why I wasn't able. It just was such a mismatch with his sex drive and my sex drive. And after I had my baby, it was just, forget about it. I was just, whatever little sex drive I had, I didn't have any after that. And again, with monogamy, I was scared that my marriage was going to end. I was like, well, what is going to happen if I'm unable to do this? At some point, there's going to be a breaking point. Like, this isn't sustainable. And so what I didn't share with him is that I was really asking to open the marriage because I was like, well, maybe I need to date women. Because maybe maybe I'm gay. That's what I was thinking in my brain. I didn't say that at the time, But that was the only thing I could come up with. But the funny thing is, when we did open our marriage up, I ended up meeting a guy and dating him for a long time. So I didn't even get to the girl part.
Yeah. Like, but had you ever been attracted to? For you to have that feeling?
Well, let me explain my asexuality first, because that will answer that question for you. So I am demisexual, gray sexual, and fraysexual. So just to give you a ballpark of what all of that means, it means I need an emotional connection. Mm-hmm. It means that my attraction, it wanes, it goes up and down, and there's nothing that I can do to like solve for it. Mm-hmm. And so the same thing with my sexual desire. So if I first meet you, I might be like hot and heavy and into it, but as the relationship goes on, it might dip off and it might not come back. Mm-hmm. So that is one of the things that is really difficult in a long-term relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't know that. I just knew something was off. And so through that exploration, because poly really opened me up to so many other possibilities, and I am very lucky to have had 2 partners that I was able to talk to about this, including my husband. But my other 2 partners that I dated were also a part of me figuring this out, and I was able to talk through it with them.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. I love that. When I heard that story, I was like, that is dope, because we don't talk about that enough. You know, we always go to the dynamics and we don't talk about certain situations. So, hey, you know what? I got the ability to have someone to talk to, be transparent with, find and start discovering myself and seeing these issues and not going through it by myself, having them by my side, going through it with me. And I was like, oh, let me note this down, because when I get them on, I want people to understand this is how deep it is. And for those that don't know, I want to also let you guys know before we dive into transition to topics, is you guys specialize in a couple things, and you guys do help couples, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Let's get into that. Family?
So our business is we're one, we believe that in the work that we do, it's needed for people like us, right? It's needed for poly couples, because we tend to talk more, we tend to share more, we tend to get into situations where we have to come to grips with envy and jealousy, but we're talking about this stuff. So my specialty is conflict resolution and communication, and
I specialize in emotional regulation. So I'm a life coach. We coach separately as well as together, and we coach all dynamics. So you can be a couple, you can be a throuple, you can be monogamous, you can be non-monogamous. It's really about what you need in your relationship. I mean, these are tools that regardless, it's helpful in any relationship you have, whether it's a work relationship, your family, your kids. We use all of these tools on everyone in our lives. Mm-hmm. So it's super important to, when you're dealing with a lot of different people, to make sure that everyone is on board with how to communicate effectively and how to emotionally regulate as well.
I love what relationships. That's the thing that I feel like people poly, all of a sudden they're like, what is red really the color red? Like, no, it's just it's just a different kind of relationship. But all the same relationship mechanisms,
they're needed,
multiplied, because there are multiple people now involved. So like, coming it down to something that simple is so important for people to understand, because they just like go off a whim, like you just are doing, you're alien now. It's cool. It's not that different. It's just a relationship, but a different type.
It's multiple relationships that still have their individual relationship situations. Mm-hmm. Take on those individual relationships. They have their individual responsibilities. I love that you talked on conflict resolution, because there ain't enough people talking about that. I love the conflict resolution. I love the emotional regulation. I have a 2-year-old, and I'm showing her emotional regulation. I'm showing her control your emotions and how to maneuver.
It's funny. She goes,
she does the why, because that's important.
So
we got to come from a conscious place. We got to learn how to ride the waves of emotions. And I love that you guys are actually coming together, creating the space for a lot of people who need these tools. So that's why I'm very excited to get this discussion going, but I wanted y'all to touch on those things.
Thank you.
So my first thing, especially coming at y'all, and Natasha, you did this for everybody. And if anybody, after I ask it, I might turn away just to put the link in for anybody to join. When it comes to communication, we always express in non-monogamy that it is important But let's break down why it's important in communication, because you can just talk, and what are things that we need to process when we say it's important for us to communicate and why. I'm gonna put the link real quick.
Well, I think that when you say something like communication is important, it gets super generic, right? Mm-hmm. We gotta know exactly what we're talking about when we're talking about communication. The way I communicate is different than the way she communicates. Like, communicating in the way that your partner needs you to communicate is super important, right? Because if you're saying the wrong things, it doesn't matter. And I think a lot of people get communication and talking mixed up. Right? There's obviously a difference between just saying things and expressing how you feel. And again, that's one of the things that I specialize in. We just talked to a couple today that we're really excited to help that want to reshape how they communicate with each other, right? And usually when that hits ahead is when it comes to conflict, right? That's what we're trying to avoid. And when we're unable to avoid it, we need to get to the point where we can communicate through that properly.
With love, without going through under what do you call it, below the belt, right? It was so interesting because this particular couple, when I say they were us a few years ago, like we were like, woo, yes, we done had that argument. Woo, yes, we know about that, and it was great to talk to them, because I think the thing that any dynamic needs to understand is that conflict is going to happen.
And it's good.
And it's great. It can be a gift. I mean, we've had some really rough periods in our marriage, and I'm always so grateful for the repair. And I think that is the mark of if a relationship is good or not. It's not about the conflict, it's about how you repair and how you move forward from that place, because that conflict, if you allow it to, will take you deeper into yourself as well as into your relationship.
Someone has a question.
I think one part of that communication that's really, really important is recognizing what you need and being comfortable in your relationship to express that. Like feeling that level of safety, right? Because if you don't feel safe expressing yourself, you're not going to. Or you're going to give some watered down ass bullshit ass explanation of where you are and how you feel. And you're not going to get anywhere because it's not genuine, right? So you have to make sure that you're in your relationship, you're cultivating a space where you really feel safe to tell your partner whatever it is that you need. Because if you don't tell your partner what you need, I don't care if you're monogamous, if you are poly, if you're in an open relationship, if y'all are just swinging or whatever, you're never going to really be fulfilled or comfortable in telling your partners or your partner or partners what you really need to be you.
Well, one of the major issues that I've found doing the work that we do, it's communication is one thing, talking is another thing, but it's how you do it. And one thing that I create with the communication style that we use is creating a container for it, or creating space, right? Busting in the door, yelling at your partner is not going to be the way to communicate that you have an issue. So what we do is create spaces to do that, right? You're coming to a space where you're speaking from, a high level, right? Like emotional level, where you can really regulate what this conversation is going to be like. That's what we do. And that's the thing that we aren't taught growing up, how to actually communicate, how to not fight someone just because you have something on your heart and you need to get it out. So what we do is make sure that we have these safe spaces, these safe containers to actually do the communicating that we need to.
Because that's a lot of people when they grow up, they don't understand the way they communicate is what they're taught from their parents.
Yeah, absolutely.
What their environment and everything's around. And if we're coming from two different places, two different homes exactly, and we see communication being different, we're thinking the way we're coming off is correct. And it's like, no, we need to take this time. I love that you guys touch on, man. Someone got a question.
We do a reprogramming.
It's necessary. People don't understand. That's very important.
Like, imagine coming from a toxic household. Like, I came from a toxic household. Like, my mother's mouth will shoot you and kill you dead. And I got it honest. So I had to be aware of that. And like, it took really close friends and other people that I was in a relationship with to say, you can't fight to the death when it's somebody that you love. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So having to, like, taking that in, for me personally, taking that in and relearning new ways to communicate, that was really important if I was going to have a successful relationship. Because there's no way you're going to keep going on like that.
Yeah, one tactic I started using and developing too is I started listening to how Shalon and Chantel communicate. So when I wanted to get my message across to them, I started coming on their, like, where they're at on their level, trying to process, for they could get that clarity with me. Because in that I ain't gonna lie, I was very impatient. There was a lot of things that I had to work on myself, and just how you say, you got to reprogram that whole situation once you start learning yourself and learning your partner. And man, that right there is very, very important. You're gonna say what, Mikki?
So from on my side with the emotional regulation, what I teach is personal responsibility. Everything that is coming outside of your mouth is about you, and things that are coming outside of their mouth is all about them. So even if they are saying your name and your X, Y, and Z, is still about them. And so when you're able to take personal responsibility for absolutely everything that you are saying and doing as it being yours and your issue, then it becomes a lot easier for me to look at whatever he's saying and not be offended. I'm not going to be, there's no reason for me to be offended, because I know even if he said something that is offensive, that is really his offense. It's about him. And so I think that that's really important, because there's only your internal environment and external environment. You are only responsible for your own internal environment. Everything, the whole point of emotional regulation is that you learn to stay grounded in yourself, even if there is chaos going on in the external environment.
Say that again. Oh, that right there.
Alex, that was a word.
I don't think they heard that.
I felt that touched Alex right here. And get him.
Yeah, and that's true. That is very true. That's the most important thing about it. Man, I've been overlooking, because you guys got like 2 questions all up in there. What is, do y'all cover assertive versus passive aggressive versus aggressive communication? Ooh, that was a lot.
For communication, for what I teach, I don't really have to get that specific into those types of communications, because when the process that we go through when we're changing the paradigm of communication and reprogramming folks, you can communicate however you want, because in the venting process, the getting it out process, you can say whatever you want. Right? Because when you go through the process, the goal is to feel better. The goal is to do better. And one part that we didn't talk about earlier today was you do want some behavior modification, of course, right? If I got an issue, I want you to change something at some point. However, all of those different communication styles are things that we're taught. It doesn't matter how you used to communicate, because we're going to reprogram it anyway. We're going to reprogram it to where your whole household can sustain and maintain and speak to each other better and talk to each other better. So it doesn't matter how you used to communicate. Like, get it all.
Bring it all. He said, bring it out. Right? He said, bring it all.
Like you said, Natasha, you coming with the knives and the yelling and the cutting words. It doesn't matter. Once you go through a process to reprogram, all of that stuff falls by the wayside.
And I think a lot of times we get stuck on if you have to deprogram or unprogram. There's no such thing. It really is just you learn a new way.
You learn
another way. You don't another way. If you learn the new thing, you don't have to worry about the old thing that you used to do, because now you have a new framework. And I think that's really the problem. We never had a framework in the first place. And what Raheem teaches, there's an actual framework that he's going step by step and teaching you, so that it is just literally a part of how we roll now. It's just a part of our life.
And that's to answer your question. Do you detach from what you've been taught? Again, you're just learning something new, and because it feels better, right? You have a framework. You don't even think about what you were taught before. And guess what? Like you said, how your mother was, Natasha, with new learning, you're able to teach your kids better, right?
That part.
They're able to teach the people around them better. We're applying this this communication to our 3-year-old son.
Mm-hmm.
So
that was a big part of my growth was that.
Yeah, exactly.
Not wanting, like when I do have kids, not wanting to feel that with me. Like wanting to kind of address those things now that I don't have any, right? Working on those things now to where when that comes apart, a different way of being, a different way of speaking, a different way of thinking, a different way of living, a different way of, right? But getting those tools now so better prepared.
Exactly.
Yep.
What would be a suggestion when it comes to communication to make someone feel welcome? Like, say someone, I was on an interview and they said they were an introvert, right? And so already it's kind of a struggle for them to come forward, but they have to make sure the space does feel welcoming. What are ways that you would actually suggest to those that are watching? Like, this is to make sure if your partner is not one to just come willingly, this is how to make them feel welcome.
And the framework of conflict.
Yeah.
Again, it's the framework for what I teach. Right? It's all about the framework. If I'm assuming if you have a partner that you feel safe with, right? If you have a framework with this partner that you feel safe with, none of those things are off limits. Now, if you say I'm an introvert and I don't want to say these things to my partner, what's the safety of your relationship?
Ooh.
Right? Well, how are you guys together?
Something is off. Something is off
there. When you say introvert, I'm thinking public spaces. I'm thinking public speaking. I'm not talking about
that part. That's
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one thing I think you need to think about, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you saying that you're introverted with your partner, with the person that's probably the closest to you, there might be some other things, in my opinion.
I think if I'm dealing with an introvert, and this is from a different perspective, not from his framework, just from like a life coaching perspective, I think it's all about setting the stage for that person to be let them control the environment. Because I'm the extrovert in our relationship. And so I can move and bob and weave and think on my feet and quick. And whereas he needs a little bit more processing time. So it irritated me, and in the beginning of our relationship, I would want to have a resolution right there, and he would need like a couple of days. So inside of your relationship agreements, which is one of the things that we help couples come up with, that can be one of the things that you decide, that if we have a conflict, that we put it on the table and we come back to it so that you know the exact time that we are going to discuss it, and gives them time to have their points ready so that they don't have to feel put on the spot. Because I think with introverts, that's really the problem. Like, it's sometimes, as a person who talks a lot and I'm a big personality, I can think quick and I know what I want to say. You got a quick comeback. But introverts, they are not like that. They need a little bit more processing time.
Oh, I love that. Right?
Trust. Why are you with somebody that you don't trust?
A lot of people are with people they don't trust.
Like,
that's big facts. That's big facts.
But trust is not automatic in a relationship. We assume that.
Mm-hmm.
It is not.
And remember, we come from a society that says get into a relationship. There isn't a whole roadmap to, you gotta meet that. Like now, you gotta meet the parents. You gotta be courted. It's not like that anymore.
It's not. It's
50 years ago, it was like, you're talking about virginal teenage women, and you met the father and you gave a dowry, and 50 years ago, like 1960.
We ain't gotta go that far.
They wouldn't give no dowry.
I mean, I'm joking about the dowry. I'm joking about the dowry. I just thought it was funny. But you meet the parents and you're getting the father's blessing, right? You're getting the father's blessing, and you're meeting the family. You're doing all these things. It's not like that anymore.
Well, and then also, like, statistically, if we're talking about like monogamous relationships, 60% of monogamous relationships are not monogamous.
That part.
Don't say that too loud. You gonna make some people mad. Don't say that too loud.
I mean, the numbers is the numbers, So
somebody's cheating. But somebody is cheating. And so the thing is, and one of the things that I'm always interested to talk to people about is the don't ask, don't tell could be an ethical non-monogamous. It can absolutely.
However, However, people do not even understand that is what they're opting into. There are some people who are fully aware that their spouse is not monogamous. However, it's as long as I don't see it. So technically, you're consenting to this dynamic, but you don't know any of the things that go along with that life. And so that's why someone asked me recently why we decided to come out. And I said, it really is about the destigmatizing this lifestyle choice. And it is not about me trying to make everybody poly. I don't really care what you decide. Just decide something for yourself.
That works.
Facts.
Stop out faking the funk. Just keep it a buck. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, because monogamy is not for everyone. Poly's not going to be for everyone either. And that's okay. But at least know that there is an option for you to decide, and you get to decide your relationship structures. And I think the thing that makes me so passionate about that is now knowing what I know about myself and my sexuality. Had I known that there may have been some different decisions I would have made up front. And so now I didn't even understand that this was an option until I was in my mid-30s. Right. I'm almost 40 now. And so this is just, I'm so grateful that all of our kids will know that this is an option for them.
And that's the thing, that options, like we live for options. As Americans, I mean, the richest country in the world, and we love options. When it comes to
everything else.
When it comes to everything else. But when it comes to this, just one.
This is how I'm going to segue into my next topic then. Enforced monogamy. You know, I don't have the definition. I can't pull it up. But to kind of break it down, it is tactics to shame, guilt, and we have even created law, bigamy, to prevent, people feeling wrong. The idea is, at the end of the day, we use tactics to enforce monogamy and tell people they're wrong for, outside of choosing anything else. I mean, wrong for choosing anything outside of that, right? There are different tactics of how we push on cheating, make them feel guilty, even though a man can be, or a woman could be successful with multiple relationships due to the fact that that's not what we're taught and grown up, raised on. Then we have to use a tactic to make them feel shamed about it, guilt trip them into it, even though they're finding they identify as being non-monogamous. How do you guys feel about that? That these are things played out there and people don't understand that they have the option to choose and not have to just be, it's not a requirement to be monogamous by default. How do y'all feel about that?
Listen, I have since we kind of came out over the past couple months, but since we've told people over the last couple years that this is our lifestyle, so many people have said, "Oh, for real?
How y'all do that?
I had a friend of mine that I went to high school with said, listen, I don't want to lose my marriage. I love my husband, but I have desires that lay outside of my marriage that I know are outside of my marriage. I have desires. There's somebody I want. I see y'all lifestyle and I want to feel that energy too. I got more love to give than I do for just this one person. And I didn't know that it was available to me. So people coming to us telling us that I didn't know that this was available to me. How do you guys make it work? What does it look like? What does it mean? Just being able to educate folks about what the lifestyle looks like, and most importantly, what it feels like.
Freedom.
What it feels like. We get a lot of questions. What it feels like knowing that she, out on a date or being intimate with somebody else. I mean, really specific questions. And we're able to educate people to say, look, this is what it was like for us. This is our approach. This is how we did it. This is how we came to the decision to get there. But to answer your question, it really comes down to the options part, like being able to decide what it looks like. And if you decide at the end of the day that monogamy is it, then that's fine too. But you exercise your right to think about it, to choose and think about it. It's like that story of Ruby D and Ozzie Davis, right? They experimented with this in their long marriage, they experiment with this, but they came back and said, you know what, you're the only person I want to be with. And that, I mean, it's such a great story. They said, you know what, maybe this is something that might resonate with us, but it was not, right? They tried it a little bit, and then they came back and said, you know what, it's monogamy. It's us two riding it out, which is fine. But being able to exercise that right, the freedom of it has just been really, really amazing.
In fact, I agree. I think at the end of the day, it's been beautiful. Like, even though those are tactics, just ways that make people have to choose monogamy by default, it does kind of suck, but I understand it, right? Yeah. So we're trying to break out of that concept and understand and tell people, hey, you know what, you're at Baskin Robbins. There's 32 flavors. Like, look, we got to see all this, and it's okay.
You imagine going in there and it was only 2 flavors?
Yeah. Man, and then I had to pull this sheet down. You will be mad on that other ice cream back there.
Now, so I have a definition for you. For enforced monogamy, it means the socially promoted and culturally inculcated monogamy as opposed to generic monogamy. It is evolutionarily dictated monogamy, which means that it exists in species but does not exist in humans.
I read that definition today.
Yeah, and it's just some people that, and because this is getting pushed, and it's like, what, are we really doing this right now? And it's like, well, let's push back a little bit.
There's another word for that too. Propaganda.
Propaganda.
There you go. And that, I was actually
say it again.
That's the word for it.
Yeah,
because it's pushed by the government. It's pushed by
absolutely
right. So it's not something that's just, oh, this is God's way to do it. No, it's a system. We talked about systems on a podcast last week. It's a system, right? And they have to promote that system. They promoted one, like you said, by making bigamy illegal.
Yeah. Right.
Why?
Yeah.
Why does it matter?
Why? Who's bigamy hurting?
Mm-hmm.
You can't marry 2 people. You can do everything else, but you can't marry one. And it's ridiculous. That's propaganda.
Because of the systems that are upheld by this. And he took it out of my mouth. I was going to say about the podcast we did last week, which was really about decolonization and how race and sex intersect, the intersection of that. And there's so many systems that are upheld by people choosing one person. And
exactly.
And there are industries that would fall because people know that they have choice. And one of the things that I'm really big on in general is, which is completely against the way we're taught to do monogamy, is autonomy. Even as a married person, I have autonomy.
Because it's
break that down, because some of my followers may not know. So
property.
Break that down for some of the followers that don't know that.
Autonomy still means I am a person unto myself. Which means I get to still decide what I can and can't do, will and won't do, because I am an adult person. As an adult male, it is assumed that he has autonomy. And even as a married man, it is assumed that he has, in monogamy, that he has autonomy. As a Black married woman, that is not the case. And so for me, it is a huge fuck you to capitalism, patriarchy, colonization, all of it, sexism, all of the things, because I still get to decide about my body, my choices, how I relate to another adult human. Like, why would I have to consult with him about that? And it just doesn't make sense. And even when it comes to, like, when people are like, well, how can you handle him like sleeping with someone else, or she's over there with some man or whatever, because he is an adult and I want his happiness over him trying to please me. It's more important to me that he pleases himself, which was his point about desire. I want him to have his desires met, whether I'm the person meeting those desires or not.
That part.
They're his desires.
His selflessness is important, because at that point you're not thinking about yourself. But me personally, I think the whole reason for the outlawing of multiple marriages is because what it's gonna look like when women got multiple husbands. Oh, they not like that. They not like me.
We live in a patriarchal system, so that's it's not going to fly.
It's not happening.
I mean, even as we were talking about, offline, we were talking about Passion Jones, right? Like her situation, she's right now. And I was reading the comments on one of the lives they did, and people were like, well, do you know who the daddy is? She's like, yes, we know who the daddy is. That's why they don't want us to. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. It's all about patriarchy, and it is all about withholding that system. Because if you start unplugging from that, you start unplugging from religion, you
Everything.
start unplugging from capitalism, you start unplugging from all these things,
and
thinking for yourself.
And these are the basic tenets of America, right? These are the basic tenets. Christianity,
even
heterosexual, right? That is that they are like the basic pillars of the society. So if you start, that's what we're built on. So if you start pulling away from that, what does that say about the country? Because they're not thinking about one person. They're thinking about 1 in 3 people doing something that is anti-American. So imagine if 1 out of 3 people started marrying more than one person, unplugging from the system. That's why the whole Bitcoin and alternate currency was an issue. That is anti-American. Yes, you're circumventing the system, and you can't do that.
Yeah, it's all the things. Like they're not willing to break down everything that they worked so hard and killed so many to make happen for us to just be able to live our lives loud and proud.
And in their defense, I wouldn't want to either. If I was one of them, I wouldn't want to either. I get it. It took 400 years to do this. They're just going, oh no.
We're going to let y'all fuck it up.
And they control too much stuff to just let it go. I wouldn't let go.
It's not happening. So that leads to where we are with like this discomfort with people being who they are. And like a lot of people don't understand like the amount, and I say this all the time, the amount of courage, like the amount of confidence that it takes to really do this shit for real and be out with it and be loud with it and be proud with it. A lot of people just don't have. So be ready for that energy. Be ready for that ridicule. Be ready for that bullshit. Be ready to be called all kind of whores, all kind of dumb bitches.
We been
there. All kind of this some white people shit. What the fuck y'all doing? All of the things. It's coming.
We have been there and done that. And you know what? I'm so grateful that both of us are very strong in our own personal like politics, who we are, and it is not something that bothers either one of us. Like I give 0 fucks what somebody says.
That
and as a matter of fact, something that's funny, when we met online, and my name online was 0 fucks given.
See,
I've been like this.
That part.
See, let me carry it over.
That's real though.
Yeah.
You have to be so confident in the words of other people, like really penetrate you. They miserable and they're jealous.
So I love that you said that.
Call me the stand up at my funeral and say best dick I ever seen in my life. Say it.
Oh, Lord, Jesus.
Get out the casket and say amen. And I'm
like, Jesus.
That's where we at. If I'm gonna be at, I'm gonna be there.
Lord.
I love that you said that. I hate Natasha. Shit. I love that you, Mikki. I love that you spoke. That you said you love to see the love and the relationships grow even outside of you. You know. So let's talk about compersion and jealousy in non-monogamy.
Ooh, we going there? We going there?
Yeah,
we're doing the thing. Okay.
I don't got compersion. No, I'm playing.
I do.
I know you do.
And I think I don't even. Sometimes I see polyam educators saying, that compersion is something to like aspire to, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that it's a nice to have. It's not a necessary thing to have. I have a good friend of mine who is polyamorous who does not feel compersion at all, and he's an amazing partner to his partners, and he's just like, it's just not something that floats my boat, right?
It's not for everybody.
Yeah, it's not for everybody. And to the other side, as far as, and this is where I come in with emotional regulation, jealousy is a natural human emotion. So understanding that there are no emotions that are bad, there are no emotions that are good. They are just giving you information. And so with his, combined with what I do and what he does, I'm able to pinpoint what the actual emotion is that I'm feeling, because that's part of the problem too. Sometimes people aren't actually jealous, they're angry. Sometimes you have to be able to pinpoint exactly what the emotion is. So if I'm feeling jealous, which has happened, and by the way, didn't happen when we were monogamous, but since we have been polyamorous, I've had feelings of jealousy that have been shocking to me, but I realize I'm human and I can feel the full range of emotions. And so when that comes up, I'm able to bring that to him. We can use the tool that he has, and we can move through that, and he can help to get me back to a level where I can support him.
I love that.
Because like people think that just because we're poly that we're void of regular human emotions. Of course not. It's just that we're aware that, hey, I'm feeling a way. Let me figure out what it is going on within me that's making me feel that way. Because honestly, that's not my partner's problem. That's a me problem. So let me just figure out what's happening here. I really just need a nap. Or really, I was hungry and I'm on a diet and I couldn't get that burger that I wanted. So now I got an attitude. So whatever it is that you do with your other partner, I'm be like, you ain't do that for me. Really, I just need to go eat. That's it. Right. That's it. It's really that simple. So like, but we have to just have that awareness within ourselves to figure out, okay, what's going on with me right now? Because like, I'm tripping. Like, oh, you bought her flowers. Oh, you don't never buy me flowers. But I don't even like flowers. So why am I tripping about flowers? I don't even get down like that. What's happening here? And that's up to me to sit in that moment and figure out, okay, what's really my issue right now? Now we got something that we need to go talk about.
That's a huge part of the reprogramming. We're taught that jealousy is about the other person. Taught to not take ownership, like Mikki was saying, to really take responsibility of what you're feeling. You take that situation, you place it somewhere else, and everybody's fine with it. So that tells me that it's all about me. That emotion could be coming from 10 years ago, from 15 years ago, when your mama didn't do something for your daddy, or what have, how you were brought up. It could be coming from somewhere totally different. So that tells me that it's about me.
Man,
but honestly, you should be be so focused on doing their own work, because really all of this is a program that we're running. We're running this data, right, of lived experiences, of the subconscious mind that is really running your life. And in order for you to really overcome that, you need to be doing your work so much so that you ain't got time to be pointing the finger over here, because it's too much for you to work on. You know, and so when you really do take that personal responsibility and don't put it on the person, when I'm jealous, I come to him and tell him, I know this is my issue, but I need to tell you how I'm feeling so that we can work through it. That's partnership.
Facts.
I was about to say we need to break down what compersion is, but shout out Wonder Woman.
Yes,
I had caught that we skipped over it and we just dove into it. And I tend to because some of the followers and the viewers that come on, they are so very fresh and new. And when we, we use terminology that we're aware of. And sometimes I'll slip all the time. I will be lost in the conversation. Thank you, Wonder Woman.
I do feel compersion too, though.
I say it again.
I have both. I felt jealousy, but I more often feel compersion, especially if he's come home from like a really wonderful weekend, or he's been on a trip with someone, or he's just really enjoyed his time. He's happier, and that makes me happy to see him in his full joy and having had that time with another partner. So I definitely do feel compersion. I actually did a funny TikTok about me being under the covers like this when he was on a date, because I'm so unbothered. I'm so like, have you a good time.
That's when you do all the things, right? That's when you in the bed watching all your good shows that they don't want to watch. You eating in the bed. You got your pizza right there. You got your drink right there. You got your rolls on the nightstand. You know, for when things, you know, when they're looking at the kicking, oh, you doing all of the girl things. You got the mask
doing all
on,
the things I would get in trouble for. Yep.
The body on, like you just loving and living life.
Living my best life. Living my best life.
I love it. Look, so this is my final question because we go like an hour, 10 minutes. We're already at an hour. I was loving the discussion. Oh my God, this was a good. My last question was something you all had posted. The big question that we all get, right? Why get married? You gotta do the face for the time.
Because I've answered that question so many times when people have asked me, why do I want to get married? Y'all take yes, go with it. Go with it.
He said, Jesus, take the wheel.
Take the wheel.
Yeah, we did post this the other day because we get it a lot. And I said, it's funny, maybe a month ago, I said, man, I hate getting this question. But then that turned to, I kind of like this question because it's more education. Because if I hate that question and maybe I don't answer it, then I don't get an opportunity to open people's eyes to this lifestyle, and I don't get to help people see the options that they have in front of them, that they can be married and they can have all the things that they want. So my answer to the question is that there are still an enormous, it's a system-based thing, meaning that there are benefits to that part of the system. There are benefits to marriage. Things that aren't system-based is foundation. I get to spend my life with somebody. Companionship, 2 incomes. We have a child. We get to raise that person together. Financially, stability. We get to do more with 2 people. Now I get solo poly and all that stuff, but it is better with 2.
Don't say it's better.
No. I'm talking
No,
about.
I get it. Yeah.
Foundationally, if you want to do stuff, because we're all about the village, right? So you got 2 ladies. You understand, like if everybody's doing, everybody's got these roles that they play. Especially we talk about finance, right? You got 3 incomes now, 4 incomes, 5 incomes. The ability to do things, to do more things becomes more, right? We're talking about abundance in different levels. You got people that we got no issues with raising our kids. There's always somebody lifting them up and raising them and helping them out. There's no shortage of love. Man, you don't have a shortage of love when we're coming from the place that we're coming from. Loving relationships, not just sexual or romantic, loving relationships, building a village. But back to just the marriage, again, is stability, is foundation, is companionship. And even being poly, we don't, we want companionship. We want to ride out with somebody, even if it's, even if we're not, if it's not a sexual or romantic thing, whatever it is, we are set up for companionship. So it's the foundational, we talk about life insurance, like basic things like life insurance. We're talking about, next of kin, on paper, if something happens to me, there's no question of whether she would handle the business. It's things like that that's foundational for me that why marriage works.
And my answer, all of that, and because we want to. And I think that it's really that simple. We want to be married. This is the person I want to do my life with, and because we have decided to do it in a non-traditional way doesn't mean that it negates the fact that this is still the person I choose. And to me, it's even sweeter because I don't have to choose him. I'm choosing him every single day, knowing I don't have to at all. And so I think that question, I also really love this question because it's a scarcity mindset to even ask that question in the first place. And this whole lifestyle is about abundance and it's about freedom. And so when I think about why are we married or why be married or get married, I think it's because I love this person and this is the person that I want to have my life literally joined to in that way. And I can also, because it's not about or, it's and over here. I can have
That's my number one.
I can have a plethora of people, if I so choose, that are also life partners that roll out with me up until a point or for the rest of my life. It doesn't have to be either or. It can be and.
And to answer the question, is this a reason to sign the paperwork? It isn't. It's a personal choice, right? If you want to sign just do a contract between life partners,
you can do that.
Peace
and
be
figure out a way to
like
make that
it's all good. And remember, we
were married already.
We became poly after we were married. If we went through all this and had these ideations before marriage, we probably would have never got married. Well, we never know. It might be no way to know. But we can speak on it because we got married under the umbrella of monogamy and all those things, and then we switched to this lifestyle. So we have that perspective. This is a little different than say being poly and then getting married. So it's a little different. So we can say, look, we still choose to do this, even though we're poly now. So it's different than someone who's, maybe I'm solo poly and I found a solo poly partner and now we decide to get married. It's just a different narrative. But our narrative is that we still choose this, even though we know we have these options now and we open ourselves to more.
And I always throw this in. I am, and I know he feels the same way. If that were to not be the case, we would support each other. We are riding
about not being together.
About not being together in marriage. I am not, again, his happiness is about his happiness. If one day he is not happy in this union, I don't want to be in a union where he don't want to be here. And so I would support him in that. Today, we are married. We are together. We want to be. And I think my monogamous programming at the beginning of our marriage was, I want you to promise me forever. I don't ask him for forever now. I ask him to let me know where he is on today. And that actually is very comforting to me, where that used to scare the bejesus out of me because I wanted him to say, no, I'm going to be with you forever, because humans' biggest fear is being alone. And so I am not afraid that he is going to up and one day decide I'm running off. Put your mom on the phone. I ain't never coming home. I'm not afraid. I don't live my life in fear. I trust that if he got to that point, I would know well before he would have to call me on the phone. We would have talked through that to know that this was going to be something that was a potential thing to happen.
My answer to that question, it always depends on the situation. When I'm in an interview where I have been having to defend my love style and my lifestyle, it's because I fucking want to. That's the answer.
Which is sufficient.
When it's a better situation, it's because I want to rig the system. Why can't I enjoy all the perks that come with being married, but also be able to have an open marriage where we can live and love and do whatever the fuck we want to do? I'm rigging the system. Like I'm having my cake and I'm eating it too. So why not?
It's the purest form of unconditional acceptance. We know we love each other. We took this union. We're doing life together, and how that looks is the way we want to create it. I unconditionally accept my spouse or spouses, whoever they are. I give them space and grace to be who they are, to explore. And it just puts us in a different sense. So why get married? We got married because we wanted to get married. Why have fun? Because we want to have fun too as well. I mean, we got to live how we want to live. And as long as we keep it ethical and consensual amongst us, what our union and our family looks like, and we're not in no position to hurt or causing pain or betraying each other, why is it anybody else's business? But that question is a popular one. And when I seen that, I said, I gotta ask it. So with that, make sure y'all follow, because I know y'all been saying y'all love the episode. Y'all gotta follow them. They are under the poly couple next door. We went a little bit over, but this was cool. Any final words? Any final advice? Any final pitches you want to do? Say anything to the people. Go ahead and do it. And Natasha, you can follow right behind.
Yes. So first of all, again, thank you for the support. Like, this is not just for show. Like, you guys have really been amazing to us, and the support is just amazing to feel the love through the screen, and to actually be a part of this community. We're so honored by that. We do have a program called Love by Design. Love by Design is for monogamous dynamics, non-monogamous dynamics, where we teach you emotional regulation, conflict resolution, as well as how to effectively communicate. If you're interested, you can fill out our application on the Poly Couple Next Door. You can find us at the Poly Couple Next Door on IG and our website. Yeah.
And could they do it over Zoom, or does it have to be in person?
Yeah. So we primarily coach all over. So yeah. Is great. We do have some people who are here in Atlanta. We have a huge poly community here. So if you're in Atlanta, we can coach you live. But we're also going to be putting together some live events. We had a Zoom event a couple weeks ago that was really successful. So look out for the live events that are either virtual, and we will be doing some stuff in person, and we're going to have a retreat coming up soon too.
Oh, I love that.
Definitely. Y'all want to add any more? Like the people following in the morning, they come. Raheem, you want to drop some jewels or something?
I got no more jewels to drop, but like we were saying, this whole conversation, if you learn nothing else, just learn that there are options. Like you have the freedom. And one of the things that we talked about earlier, we were talking about how this country is built. One thing we keep saying that this country is built on is freedom.
Right.
So if you take nothing else from that, from how this country is set up,
get your freedom.
That that's the best thing that I've felt. That's the best feeling that I've felt with adopting this lifestyle, is just having the freedom to choose to say, you know what, I have a desire. And not feeling bad that I want to share that with my wife. Like, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I think I want. I'm in total exploratory mode right now when it comes to partners and romance and that kind of thing. So being able to share that with my wife and say, hey, I might be kinky, something, whatever it is.
You better be poly exploring.
You know,
you better do that.
And if had we stayed monogamous, there would have been a lot of
you would feel shame and not really wanted to say that.
Yeah, it would have been a lot of just, what's the word I'm looking for? Just
angst. Like you probably wouldn't have wanted to say that.
You know,
anxiety, unease, disarray.
You would have been limited. You would have been limited to who you
are.
Suppressed.
That's the word I'm looking for. Suppressed.
Suppressed. And one last thing too about the freedom is really about freedom to be yourself. I firmly, for me, polyamory is an identity. So it is not something I'm just trying on or doing. Whether or not I am actively polyamorous, I'm actually not dating right now, or dating.
Thank you.
Because I am poly. I am this thing. And so I feel that for me, the biggest blessing from polyamory is the layers of the onion peeled back on who I am. And that is worth whatever, toxic comment comes on the internet, or whatever somebody has to be a naysayer about, because I know myself better. And that's what we are all here for.
I love that freedom comment. Cause like, we already Black. We got to steal the little pieces of freedom that cause
that's
damn.
it. Get your piece.
We got to get it where we can get it. You know?
Absolutely.
That's right.
Natasha, you got any final words?
Always. First of all, thank you guys. Thank y'all for just imparting us with your wisdom. Like, we really, really appreciate all the different perspectives that we get with the couples and with the singles that we invite on this show. I always take little pieces of it with me along my little poly journey. So I appreciate that from you guys. I appreciate everybody for watching. Thank you guys. Without y'all, there would be no us. Me and Alice would be sitting here talking to ourselves. So we appreciate y'all. But you guys know, I know y'all have been waiting. The dating show, Are You Poly the One, is coming back. It will be here Tuesday, the 28th. Natasha and all her lingerie gorgeousness will be here. We'll be right here, ready and waiting. The At Fits is about to be At Fitting, okay? So be ready. If you are ready to be a guest, please slide in my DMs and let me know. We'll hook it up and we'll set up. Yes, ma'am, girl.
What's
it
this
gets good and spicy.
It's our dating show. We have a poly dating show that we do every Tuesday. We kind of took a break. I got caught up in a couple of things, but yeah, we're bringing it back.
In that show, man.
Oh man, it gets spicy. It gets
you have sophisticated Natasha. This was like low key.
Yeah.
Are you part of the one, Natasha? Oh,
you see how he aching to get on the after dark part. He want to be on the after dark.
Oh,
I got desires.
Oh, I got that.
You know she bringing it back. She bringing back Natasha.
I'm bringing back Natasha after dark now. I'm bringing.
Okay.
It's coming back.
Look.
All the things. So y'all make sure that y'all join us on Tuesday. Also, June the 9th. No, 9th, 10th, that weekend. It's June the 10th. Atlanta, Georgia. The Poly Player Ball will be happening, guys. Alex and I are hosting the award show. Plus, we have an amazing couple that's going to be hosting the other part of the event. We got open bar. We got free food, good food, not no finger sandwiches, not no little salads, not no hot dogs, not no hamburgers. We're talking about food. We're talking about that stick to your ribs food. We're going to be having a good time. So come in your Poly Player best. I want to see the afros. I want to see the bell bottles. I want to see the mink fur that's 16 miles long. I want to see all of the things. Please come with your best. And make sure
I know it's gonna be hot in Atlanta.
It's gonna be kind of hot now.
We're gonna be inside. We got air conditioner. We got air conditioner. We can afford it. We can afford the AC. We got all that. We got you covered. We're gonna have all the things. I want to meet all of you guys in person. So come meet me.
Definitely.
It'll be the best day of your life. I promise.
I second that. Make sure y'all tap in with us on Tuesday. Tuesday we'll be doing it back on IG Live. You know, Sundays we'll keep it here on YouTube, but Tuesday we'll be back on IG Live with a special guest. I'll drop promotion probably tonight or probably tomorrow morning.
We're coming in with a bang.
Who we're bringing out is a bang. You know, Raheem, Mikki, thank y'all so much for joining us. I can't wait to meet y'all in Atlanta. See y'all in Atlanta. I thank y'all for coming through. The audience love y'all. Thank y'all for joining. Thank y'all for being so active, and I'm glad y'all love this couple and all the information they gave. Make sure you tap in with them. They got the tools that you need to be successful in your poly journey. Make sure you tap in.
Or your monogamous journey. Whatever journey
monogamous. Yeah, monogamous. Just overall things you need towards life. I swear to God you do. But yes, thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good night.
Good night, y'all.